Hey folks, today we're going to be taking a look at Transistor from the same folks that brought you Bastion, which was one of my absolute favorite games of all time now.
I was still with you.
If you somehow managed to miss that,
Out there.
please go back and play Bastion. That was an absolutely wonderful game, and you can pick it up on sale all the time now for like $2, $3. But so this is their new game, out on consoles, PC, all that jazz. This is the PC version, Steam in particular, which I will say right off the bat has actually had just a couple of issues that I myself and several other users when I took to the forums seem to have been experiencing some random hitching during the game. It does seem to have been solved, but the first day that was definitely present. So I do want to mention that it was there.
Ragged towers.
So you'll notice some familiar voices, some familiar, the aesthetics, the sound of the game, the look of the game are all evoke similar feelings as Bastion, and in case a lot of the voices are in fact the same.
This tower's changed 1,000 times.
And that's in my opinion, that's a good thing.
Gotta be pretty old.
I think they do a great job, and it's not like I'm listening to them and going, oh, all I hear is the narrator, or something like that. They totally fill the new roles just fine.
Every time you
And it
cast
sounds
a vote in this
great.
town, it gets tallied, sorted,
Maintenance acts.
somewhere here.
So there's all these little terminals around. They'll give you like little tidbits and stuff, or sometimes they'll just be like little surveys like this. List of known processes.
Another chance to make Cloud Bank a better place.
At the very beginning, like there's a terminal where you can vote on the color of the sky that day and stuff.
Oh, you look fine.
Remain indoors until help arrives.
Seems like you're safe. I take full credit.
Whoa. That was just weird. Just took me back up without having to run, I guess. So every little kind of thing that you walk up to has these little bits and stuff about it too. There's definitely a sense going on that if this world is not some sort of like matrixy digital recreation of the world that we live in and are jacked into or whatever, there is definitely, at the very least, a lot of this is digital in some way, not real in some way. Haven't gotten far enough to figure out exactly how that works out yet. Oh, when things die,
Would you look at the timer?
they spawn these little cells that we gotta pick up so that they don't come back. Oh, ow.
We ought to know.
Okay, that's protected, so I don't think I can do anything with it, but let's just... Oh, can hit it. Let's have a look, shall we?
That also didn't hurt.
Yeah, no. Not doing anything, so let's just get through here.
Don't mind us.
So that's where you'll notice the main difference is when the combat starts to kick in. So whereas Bastion was very actiony, very active,
I think that was just the tail.
you could attempt to play Transistor that way. I don't know that you could actually get very far. It definitely seems built around
That was just the tail.
having you use what's called the turn
Where did everybody
system,
go?
which when we get to a battle here,
If I was the size of that
get
thing,
a look at. Basically,
I wouldn't hide from
you
anybody.
can kind of stop time, set up a certain set of moves,
The process took care of
or
everything
move
behind
around
us.
or whatever, and then it all executes basically like within you know, a second or whatever. Like, time is moving, but it's moving very, very slowly. And so that way, you know, things can be dodged and stuff like that. Like, the enemies can end up not being where you expect them to be and all of that. But it also allows you to set up, you know, stuff like, okay, I'm gonna pull this guy right in, or well, we're not, because that would just not make any sense. But it lets you set stuff up like where you're gonna pull somebody in, and then you can, you know, run around and hit their backside. Let's just do it. So like, he's gonna be pulled in, so now I can run around, hit him from behind, hit him from behind again. Bam. Alright, and I've got a little buddy here. So this is one of your skills called Help. That if you use it as an active slot, you get a little puppy assistant here. But so if I tell him to go and actually just attack there, that thing's not going to be there because I'm pulling him away. So take that out, and then he's going to come over here. And nope, point that way because that's where the dog should be. And execute. So you see everything kind of getting played out there. Oh!
I see the spy.
And then now that once you've used that, you have to wait for it to charge back up. Most of your abilities you won't be able to use. So you can, it's very much designed around like using this, kind of eliminating a couple of enemies, and then hiding behind these white blocks that are all set up all over the place, or, you know, there's a stealth skill that you can use, that kind of thing. Alright, so that should hit both the dog and the other thing there. Now let's switch to our little buddy here. Now all these weeds heal the enemy, so we want to get rid of those, and the dog is great for that. It's not only do they heal the enemy, but if I get close to them, they hurt. Oh, the get missed. See, that's the thing. Sometimes things don't always work out. But it's very, very, because of that, it's incredibly, incredibly satisfying when you do pull something off. Like pulling a couple enemies in and running around and getting backstabs on them, and having that work out and having them all line up. So you're eliminating several enemies in the course of a single turn. It's very, very satisfying when you get things to line up, you know, the way you want them to. You notice kind of everything is, like I said, you know, built around this kind of computer conceit. Your abilities are called functions, the people and enemies and stuff are called processes.
It took off.
There's a lot of things around that just point to you're either in a computer world or a very much computer controlled world. We're probably about halfway through at this point, I would say, from what I've heard. So while we're at an access point here, so on top of the combat itself being incredibly satisfying, the upgrade system and the skill system is really, really fun to play around with as well. So you'll choose, each time you level up, you'll choose you'll get a choice between two abilities. You'll choose one, and then you'll be able to slot them in at any access point. So you see our slots down there, and you can see some of them are still locked off. Those are also upgrades that you get when leveling up. You have the memory limit over on the left side there. That's basically how many abilities you can have equipped at any one time. So they have these little, each ability has a certain amount of memory that it takes up, and that, you know, limits you from just being able to fill in every single ability that you have space for. Although in this case, I happen to have just enough memory to be able to fill in all the space with the abilities that I have. And then depending on what slot you kind of put them into, different pieces of information are revealed. So you get some extra bits of story this way, because these skills are actually all coming from people. When you first pick them up, you're picking, like, the first couple of skills you come across, you're coming across what look like basically half dead. They're half processed bodies. And they translate into these functions that you're getting, and there's little, you know, bits of story and stuff given to you this way, as well as through the it's not really narration. I don't want to call it that, because the sword, while it is the narrator and he is talking to you over the whole time, he's not narrating. He's actively with you at the time in the story that you're at, talking to you at the moments that you're at. So it's not a narrator, it's an active participant in the story, even if sometimes it does maybe evoke some of the same feelings. So each function also basically behaves differently depending on what slot you put it in. And that's the big thing here. So let's take this one out because I've got a bunch of stuff linked up to it. So I can put this in a main slot, you know, your A, B, X, Y, that's straight, you know, pretty obvious. They're the abilities that you're going to use. So this is basically a damaging ability. So you toss that in the active slot. Great. Now you can use other abilities as modifiers on these. So each ability has something it'll do based kind of on what its active is, whenever you put it in a ability, you know, a modifier slot for the ability. So in this case, ping normally sends out like a little low damage thing. This that's very fast. This increases the speed and also decreases the amount of bar that it uses to use the skill during turn. And do the same thing here. So we've got the bounce, and it makes this breach skill, instead of being a single target skill, now the breach will jump from target to target like a chain lightning type thing. So there's the active slots, the upgrade or modifier slots. Then there's also passive slots. Whoops. So passive slots are exactly what they sound like, and each ability each function has a separate passive ability as well. All the abilities can be put into any one of these slots. So in this case, switch, which is your basic mind control if you use it as an active, or adds mind control if it's upgrading an ability. In this case, if you put it in the passive slot, it's summoning little friendly bad cell things each time that I pick up a cell from an enemy. So those cells I was talking about, you have to pick those up basically, otherwise enemies respawn, and they all have a time limit.
Head of the Camerata, and they're pulling the strings.
The Camerata, they're the main.
If we get through this.
They're the ones being accused of the badness. That's who we're after. Massive organism in downtown Cloudbank. Yeah, I think I just saw it. So if, like, you get a lot of these little terminals are news stories and stuff, so you get put up a little comment thing.
What? Okay. Yeah. I'm trying.
So the sword in this particular area, once we got here, has been sounding kind of weak. That's why it sounds a little off and stuff. Whoa.
Hello.
Hello indeed.
How did you get in there? This tower isn't going anywhere. You hear that, Spine?
Oh, before I leave this access point, the other thing I want to show you as well, the limiters. So much like in Bastion, there is also a way to basically make the game further more difficult while increasing your experience gain and stuff. And that's, in this case, it's limiters. Again, when you level up, you'll be occasionally asked to choose a limiter, just like you'll occasionally be asked to choose a slot that you want to unlock. And these all have different effects and stuff. In this case, I have one that shields the cells, so I have to hit a cell before I can pick it up. Makes it a little harder for them to get picked up, before the things can be respawned. Forces me to have a skill that I can use while a turn is cooling down, so that I'm not just always waiting for that and then having to waste turn on picking up cells and stuff. There's like one of them is use less memory, limit yourself, take away 6 memory or whatever, and get 4% more experience, stuff like that. Just ways to, much like Bastion, make the game just a little bit harder and make leveling a little bit quicker on top of it.
Nothing. Right now, nothing.
Large process settings. I'm close. There we go.
If I didn't know better, I'd think that thing's afraid of you.
Maybe it is. But so yeah, I have really found it to be very, very satisfying so far. The combat and the way the upgrade system and skill system works and stuff is really, really satisfying. I really like the way that works out, and it makes it totally way different enough from Bastion that you're not just sitting there thinking, oh, this is another Bastion, which was a great game, but I definitely didn't want them to just make Bastion over again, that's for sure. Ah, the dog has stealth.
When you fail, it's like
Ow.
closer deaths.
Take that, doggy. So now we gotta run away again. That should finish it off. Yep. I think some of my limiters I might have accidentally turned off some limiters there. So that's my little friendly bad cell over there. And so whenever you get close to death and run out of health, the game will initiate an emergency turn first. So you'll get a chance to take out whatever it is that's coming after you, or get in a stealth skill, something to deal with the problem and hopefully not die. If you do in fact lose all your health, then you don't actually die right away. You lose access to one of your skills that's actively equipped, which I think is actually a really neat way to handle it, and then you continue on with the fight. And it's really cool because you can end up in these situations where you're like, oh shit, I have, now I have no damaging skills or something, so I can't really do this. But again, rather than just, hey, start over, it adds this extra level of challenge. Like, you can, get through this. And at least for me, I find I always kind of want to just push through it. Like, you can, if you lose one and don't want to deal with it, you can totally just reload where you were and be fine. But I find the extra little challenge and the added reward of completing it successfully when you have a skill taken away, especially if it's your main, in this case, like my breach skill is my main damage skill. If I have that taken away from me, I'm severely gimped in my ability to fight. So completing a fight, if that gets taken away, is actually incredibly satisfying, at least for me. If you do lose all the abilities, then it does just force a reload on you, but, you know, hopefully you won't die 4 times in a single fight. And they're not lost permanently. Basically, I think depending on memory value, it seems to be, they take a couple of access points, you know, 1 to 3 access points or whatever, to basically reactivate, and then you get them back and you can slot them back just like normal. But while they're overloaded, which is what they call it, you obviously can't use them. Anything that was attached to them you can take out and reassign, but you do have to get to an access point to do all of that. Still protected. But so yeah, that's Transistor. Like I said, I have really been enjoying my time with it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The combat and the upgrade system are incredibly satisfying. Much like you would expect from the people who brought you Bastion, the aesthetics of the game totally fit perfectly and are spot on. I am really impressed. I think that they did an absolute great job, and I'm looking forward to finishing it and going back through and playing again. Oh, big guy. Oh no. Well, that's Transistor. It's out now. You can pick it up for $20. Thanks for watching.